At last, the ninth generation of consoles has reached its apex with the release of the PS5 Pro, the most powerful console of our time. With this technological powerhouse in hand, console enthusiasts are now turning their gaze towards the realm of PCs. But wait a second, what's really happening here? Let's lay out all the facts and break down this latest chapter in the ever-evolving console wars. Hey guys, Turk here. I hope you're having a good one. My past 5 videos here on the channel have been laser focused on the PS5 Pro, and that's for good reason. Sony's mid-gen refresh is a potent piece of kit for the enthusiast console gamer. Not only is it powered by 60 compute units of raw AMD grunt, but it also packs in Sony's version of resolution upscaling, PlayStation Super Resolution or PSSR. On the console, this is as good as it gets, and as I've said in the past, it's nothing to scoff at. In many titles, there are obvious improvements, and just like the PS4 Pro, this console should last well into the next generation of consoles. However, with most technologies, there are some bumps and teething issues along the road, and ultimately, we're starting to see the diminishing returns of the console platform. Many online have taken this horsepower as their flagship into the console wars, and they're shooting shots across the bow of the PC. Many have compared this Pro console against an RTX 4070, which I think we have thoroughly debunked at this point. Others have posed the value proposition, challenging PC builders to make a $700 console killer. Meanwhile, exclusivity is their ace up their sleeves, though as time has passed, exclusivity is slowly fading away. So where do we go from here? Let's size up the two platforms side by side, look at the good and the bad, and see where each platform can improve, looking forward to the next generation. First, let's take a look at the console, primarily with the PS5 Pro. As we all know, a console's primary habitat is the living room, with a controller as the primary input and larger 4K TVs as the display. Consoles are just designed for the comfort of our couch and ease of use. Stay out of here, Series S, we're not talking about you today. Not only that, but the Pro is well equipped to display at a 4K output, thanks to PSSR and its raw GPU horsepower. Sure, there are some games where PSSR doesn't look as good as the base console, but I don't want to get into that, guys. Let's let the devs cook and give Sony some time to improve the upscaler. The improved horsepower alone will help all games stay closer to 60 FPS and hopefully within the VRR range. Let's put that horsepower into perspective though. Coming in at $700, its value compared to an equivalent PC, it's just hard to ignore. In my previous analysis, the Pro is roughly equivalent to an RTX 3070. In context, this is effectively a mid-range PC from 2020. Don't get me wrong, guys, the 3070 is a decent GPU with a decent feature set, but in 2024, it's getting a bit long in the tooth. However, the Pro's $700 raw price tag is impossible to beat with current off-the-shelf retail PC hardware. Though things could change in January with AMD and Nvidia's upcoming GPU announcements, the best I can do for an equivalent PC build is around $850, of course if we build it ourselves. That includes a Ryzen 5500 CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, 2 terabytes of a Gen 3 NVMe, 600 watt power supply, a cheap case, but we also have a Windows license key and a wireless keyboard and mouse. From there, you get to pick your poison for the GPU. At least for me, the closest retail GPU to the Pro is the RX 7700 XT. On top of that, PC isn't well suited for the modern living room. Even with a wireless keyboard and mouse, a controller is far superior without using a table or some other type of hard surface. Additionally, the desktop user experience is less than friendly compared to the console one. Even with Windows UI scaling, double-clicking on icons while in your living room, it's a pain in the patella. Putting all of those facts into context, the console makes a lot of sense for the average gamer, and the Pro checks even more boxes, making it an ideal platform for an enthusiast gamer. But is it though? Where the console excels in the living room, the PC makes up for it with versatility. The entire mindset of the PC is centered around options rather than simplicity. On one hand, consoles thrive in an out-of-the-box experience. On the other, PCs behave like a fine wine. Selecting the right components and optimizing the setup for the best experience truly pays off in the long term. You can put a PC in the living room, but why restrict yourself when there are better places to put it? As such, the entire console equivalent PC becomes a bit of a false dichotomy. Now, I've been harping equivalence for a long time, but that's entirely to build the proper perspective. Yes, an RTX 3070 might be an equivalent GPU to the PS5 Pro, but that's forcing a set of known criteria onto the PC that we just don't have to adhere to. To make this comparison work, it all boils down to resolution. The primary development goal of the console is an output resolution of 4K. On PC, that choice is up to you. As I mentioned in other videos on the channel, 4K is gaining in popularity, but 1440p is by far the most adopted resolution for a desktop gaming PC. And even in some scenarios, 1080p is still an ideal output for the PC. Better monitors and screens exist with these lower resolutions, further optimizing our setup costs, unlike picking up a 4K 120Hz TV. For instance, Artings, a very popular third-party reviewing website, they highlight the Hisense U7 as the best lower mid-range 4K 120Hz VRR TV, and it's priced at $480 for the 55-inch model. You can pick up a comparable mid-range 27-inch 1440p monitor offering similar visual quality for between $200 and $300. I've got a video down in the description covering the sweet spot for 4K gaming, so make sure to check out that video. Since we have different resolutions to consider, let's address 4K first. As we said in the first segment, 4K is a tough resolution to hit when considering price to performance. And if we stay consistent with the PS5 Pro's internal resolutions, we're still looking at an $850 PC just to be comparable. And if you're not into building your own PC, good luck finding a similar pre-built for less than $1,200. Like I said before, the Pro in this respect is a good value. But we don't have to stay at 4K, and scaling the resolution down works perfectly in the PC's favor. Keeping all other settings the same, 1440p unlocks many opportunities for the PC gamer. That means using the same quality, ray tracing, and upscaling settings the same as the PS5 Pro. To do that, there are a lot of GPUs in this performance tier, from the 6650 XT up to the 4060 Ti. Of course, each of these GPUs has its own advantages and disadvantages, but that's the whole point of the PC. If you're having problems maintaining your target frame rate, there's plenty of settings to tweak. PCs are developed to scale, so that alone can be exploited to our advantage. So if we take that same base PC from before and slide in a GPU from this performance tier, we're looking at a total system cost between $675 and $780. That's choosing an RX 7600 or an 8GB RTX 4060 Ti, respectively. Of course, the performance gap in those cards is about 26%, but the system price only increases by 16%. Not only that, but finding pre-builts in this range is far more feasible. For example, you can go to Newegg and get a Ryzen 8400F RX 7600 with 16 gigs of RAM, 1TB NVMe for about $900 from iBuyPower right now. Additionally, upgrading your GPU is trivial once you've gotten your foot in the door with a competent base PC. Assuming you've picked a decent power supply, upgrading the GPU is a fraction of the cost of picking up a whole new system. Now, there's a Starforge PC for $980 that, yes, it's not that great of a performer, but with an Intel 12400F, a 750-watt power supply, it is primed for a GPU or even a CPU upgrade once tax return season comes around. And who am I kidding? The RGB in this case looks sick. And when it comes time for the next console generation, about 2 to 4 years from now, you only really need to upgrade some of the components, not your entire system. The last benefit of PC's openness is access to games. Sure, we don't get console exclusives on day and date, but in this day and age, there are plenty of games to be played. We have all the different launchers, we've got emulators, we got so much to pick from here. Combined with many developers' desire to make even more money, PC is starting to see exclusives come sooner rather than later. But it's not just the games themselves, but access to their features. During my PS5 Pro review, I really wanted to record some Black Ops 6 multiplayer, but I forgot I didn't have PS Plus, so I couldn't access that feature. That's just not a thing on PC. Now, I don't want to factor in the total cost of ownership in this build, but 3 years of multiplayer from PS Plus Essential will cost almost $300 if you buy the yearly subscription, of course, minus any sales or discounts. That would turn your $700 PS5 Pro into a $1,000 PS5 Pro. And for the base console, even with the current holiday sales, that's now $675 for a base PS5. Interestingly enough, that's exactly the cost for our baseline PC. Again, there's a lot of caveats there, so for simplicity, I'm just not going to factor that in. The PC just has a different use case altogether than console, so let's sum it up. Bottom line, comparing consoles to PC, it's just a false premise all the way from the use case to how they operate entirely. Consoles are designed for the living room, with feature sets built around simplicity and ease of use. PCs are designed for the desk, emphasizing flexibility and customization. Sure, either platform can fit into either use case, but it's a bit of fitting a square peg into a round hole. The good thing is that both platforms are reaching a point where they are effectively at feature parity. On consoles, features like ray tracing, AI upscaling, and improved render resolutions are becoming increasingly common, which elevates them to effectively a PC experience. On PC, controller support is becoming increasingly fleshed out, and launchers are beginning to improve their user experience to a more modern games user interface. Also, console features are becoming more available on mainstream hardware, enabling less expensive builds to leverage their intended audience accordingly. This is a good thing for the gaming ecosystem. The entire point of identifying a console equivalent GPU is just to set a standard for the comparison. At the end of the day, I believe I've accomplished that. So, where do we want to go from here? On console, it all boils down to getting better games, better optimization, and refining the technologies going into the 10th gen. If the console fits your playstyle, be happy that developers are still focusing on creating games that scale from the PS5 and Series X all the way to the Pro. With at least 2 years to go to the next consoles, all 3 consoles will be a great gaming experience. Now, I would like to see that consoles could allow different resolution support for different screens, which would allow gamers to pick whatever screen they want and unlock the horsepower accordingly. On PC though, there's a bit more work to be done. Devs need to continue making games that scale well with more hardware, which needs to continue as more and more generations of CPUs and GPUs, they're just viable compared to the console experience. Also, features like dynamic resolution scaling and user interfaces, they just need more support to give gamers a more console-like experience. In the meantime, there is a lot of higher-end hardware on the market that PC enthusiasts want to leverage. Devs must find a way to push the limit without leaning on the crutches of upscaling and frame generation just to get us there. With even more GPUs being 4K capable than ever, it's time to make it more appealing to gamers and continue pushing the market forward. And that's all I've got for you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think. As for me, I'm at a bit of a crossroads here on YouTube. As many of you know, my current professional position means I can't keep reviewing hardware like I used to. I have to navigate this really gray area of need to know and non-disclosure agreements while giving you guys as truthful and unbiased a representation of the data as possible. If you've got ideas for content you want to see from me, also let me know down in the comments. As always, I appreciate you sticking to the end of the video. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.